Captain America Brave New World is in theaters, and this is our review on the Fanboy Cantina. We're going to try to go spoiler light here, but unfortunately the marketing and the trailers have already spoiled way too much of the movie. But nonetheless, we'll try to go spoiler light. Overall, I think it's a good movie, a good addition to the MCU. Certainly better than Thor 4 or the Marvels, but it doesn't get up to the standard of, the Winter Soldier or Civil War in the Captain America films. I did not expect this to be as much of a sequel to The Incredible Hulk, a movie from 2008, as it is to being a sequel to Falcon and the Winter Soldier. If you have to choose between seeing one movie, cramming in one piece of Marvel content before you go to the theater, it's probably The Incredible Hulk. But if you don't get to it, or if you've seen it a long time ago, or maybe you have never seen it, I think you'll still be okay because the movie does enough work of reminding you about that movie and, filling in the gaps. There's a number of scenes that are a good time at the movies. Really enjoyed the opening action scene and the hand-to-hand combat scenes, but the story does feel stitched together. There's too many times where characters are reading off narrative, exposition, that makes me wonder if it was to smooth over the reshoots or if it's just not that well crafted of a movie in the first place. There are certain scenes that seem to be uneven or might be, solely there to have good lines in the trailer. There's an argument tied to that "you're not Steve Rogers" line in the trailer, which seems like the movie is going to go in a certain way, but instead the tone shifts and it doesn't play that out. And these moments might be also the markers or the signs of where the reshoots or the rewrites might have happened, which impacts the pacing. There's this theme that, Captain America is playing against this villain that's playing, 3D chess. When really, I wonder if that villain is just playing checkers because some of the moves do not make a lot of sense. I'm not understanding some of the smaller actions by the villain. There's a moment where he's in this guy's house and it seems like it's just there. He's there to make a phone call. I assumed that this was originally part of a larger scene or a story arc or something, but it was removed and they chose to not reshoot it. And so now we got the scene that doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense. Performances are generally good. I really love Anthony Mackie in the role of Captain America. And there's enough reminders of what makes him unique as an individual and what makes him worthy of the shield. Harrison Ford has a lot more screen time than I expected, and he is great as President Ross. He steps into the shoes of the late John Hurt, and he owns that Ross role. Giancarlo Esposito is fantastic and he's threatening, and it's a real shame that he's here because he barely has any screen time. Carl Lumbly is fantastic as Isaiah Bradley, and I absolutely recommend watching his story in Falcon and the Winter Soldier if you haven't seen it already. Danny Ramirez as Joaquin as Falcon, he's fine. I didn't find him as annoying as other reviewers have claimed. When, Anthony Mackie first appeared in The Winter Soldier, you wanted to see more of him. He's a charismatic character in his own right. Ramirez, therefore, he has enormous shoes to fill, and he does an okay job. Shira Haas seems either miscast or just not given much here as a side character. I didn't otherwise know that she was representing a character in the comics, and it's pretty forgettable for what she's given here. There are times where the movie just genuinely looks poorly filmed. It does not look good. There's a scene towards the end in a plaza, and I couldn't understand if this was just a really bad green screen, or was it hobbled together from other footage, or was it just badly executed? I suspect that what happened here is that it was Frankenstein together, and maybe they took in a bunch of stuff, or they took out a bunch of stuff for pacing, or something happened here where it just makes for a scene that doesn't make a lot of sense, and it definitely doesn't look good. I know others have gone into greater length about the editing and the fighting. I actually thought the hand-to-hand combat was good to watch. It's the big spectacle pieces where I found it less interesting. I've heard positive comments about the score too. In this case, though, I felt like it was a crutch to prop up otherwise lackluster scenes. At the packed theater that I was at on opening night, the only audible reaction that I heard was when a certain cameo appears towards the end. But about that scene, I wondered if the speech or the dialogue there was originally intended to be earlier in the movie. Feels kind of out of place here. Beyond that, I think the audience's experience was the same as mine. It was a fine movie. It was entertaining, and that's about it. Here's the critical problem. The marketing of the film has been to the detriment of the audience experience. If you've seen any of the marketing, you know that Red Hulk is going to be in the film, and you probably also know who is going to become Red Hulk. But when the clues in the movie are being planted and they're being uncovered, what might XYZ thing mean? It doesn't really matter because you already know where this story is headed. There's so little held back in the trailers that it takes what could have been an interesting moment or an interesting time at the theater, to you're just waiting for these scenes to come from the trailers, right? And so if someone has managed to stay away from the marketing, not seeing any of the trailers, they might have a better time at the movies. And that's really impressive if you haven't seen any of the marketing already. There is an end credit scene. It's at the very end of the movie. You already know what is coming. It just sort of sets up stuff that you already know is coming. So, you don't necessarily need to leave the theater early. It's just not going to reveal that much more for you. So overall, I think it's a good installment to the MCU. I enjoyed most of the action scenes. I think Anthony Mackie, Harrison Ford, Carl Lumbly, Giancarlo Esposito are great in their roles. I think Mackie is great as Captain America. I think they've done the right thing of making him a unique character and separating what makes him distinct and unique in that Captain America mantle and worthy of the shield. There's a lot of issues, though, with the storytelling, and it's most likely the vestiges of the reshoots or the weak underlying script that prompted the reshoots. But I think, again, the worst part is the marketing that revealed way too much of this movie. So that's our review of Captain America: Brave New World. Post in the comments, what did you think of the movie? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Was there somewhere in between? Post in the comments. Would love to hear from you. As always, thanks so much for watching. Please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. This has been the Fanboy Cantina.